Hello everyone, this is Jan also known as that German Viking, and there is a hilarious article on the Pluralist that I came across that was on my feed, and it's Ellen Page doubling down on her comments she made on the Stephen Colbert show, and I'm gonna read the article. Lesbian actress demands people stop mocking her. Jussie Smollett meltdown. I'm a victim. I ask you not to question our pain. Alan Page last month emotionally blamed the Trump administration for what was at the time being investigated as a hate crime against Jussie Smollett, appearing on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, as I said. She also accused the media of being too skeptical about the actor's story, saying this shit is not a debate. Ooh, that did not age well. That did not age well. Now that Smollett has been charged with filing a false police report for allegedly staging a crime against himself, the Canadian actress is outraged that the media is talking about how wrong people like her appear to have been, instead of about having supposed surge of real hate crimes in the United States. You know, just because there's a report of higher uh, of more people reporting hate crime doesn't mean there's actually more hate crime. I mean, they can be hoaxes. I mean, if there are more arrests happening, sure, but just if more things are being reported on doesn't mean it's surging. In a column published Wednesday by the Hollywood Reporter, she said that the LGBT people like her live in constant fear of hate violence. Really? Speaking of for yourself, I mean, you can't claim people who have a certain sexuality are living in fear. Then I would say, especially in the West. Why aren't you talking about the people who are actually living in fear because of their sexuality in the Middle East or in Africa? Food for thought. If this situation was staged, he said, referring to the Smollett affair, it could make victims even more reluctant to report these crimes, very real crimes that she said are prevalent and pernicious. So if they are so prevalent and pernicious, why don't we see them, and why do people have to make these things up? She went on to demand that the media stop talking so much about Smollett and start talking more about the reality and totality of the cruelty and danger we face with the we being LGBTQ plus people, people of color, and other represented communities. Yeah, intersectional feminism is cancer. I ask you not to question our pain, not to draw into question our trauma, but to so we're not to question anything. Listen and believe. No, 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 no. That's not how this works. Trust but verify. That's how things works. But to maintain wholeheartedly that hate violence exists. Of course, it exists. The merits of one case should not and cannot call that into question. The media coverage does not convey the reality and totality of the cruelty and danger we face. This is a story that must be told. Yes, citation needed, and again, you have to prove these things. As proof of the extent of the problem, Page referred to her experience of bullying and sexual violence as a queer but white cisgender woman. She said the situation is even worse for more marginalized people, some of who she said met filming her Netflix documentary series Vacation. Okay. Page also cited FBA data that shows reported hate crimes in America rose to 70% in 2017, and a study by the National Coalition of Anti-Violence Programs on LGBT hate crimes and domestic violence that recorded a record number of hate violence homicides in 2017. Okay, I would have to look more into the homicides, but that reports are being made, that doesn't mean more hate crimes are being committed. However, the statistics are plentiful and powerful, and all point to a rising tide of hate violence, Page claimed. However, the FBI claimed data does not actually prove a rise in hate crimes, but rather of reported hate crimes, which makes sense given that 1,000 more agencies began reporting the crimes to the feds between 2016 and 2017. Yes, there you go. There is an explanation for that. As for the LGBTQ study, and actually found that the violence. Sorry, I just had to edit that out because my doggy came in into the room. Um, and back to the article. Part of the study decline. The group attributed the fall not to social progress, but rather to normalization of anti-LGBT violence and reduced data collection by cash-stripped non-profit. It also acknowledged that its survey is not properly representative as it relies on reports of violence to its member programs. For her part, Page stated that the LGBT people were deterred from speaking up by the rhetoric we read and the hate speech we hear from our politicians, our media and entertainment, our neighbors and families, and our religious leaders. That's just terrible grammar, first of all, and define hate speech. You have to define hate speech because you can't define it because you can't define it because you can make it whatever you want. Hate speech isn't illegal in the US at the moment, but it is illegal in Europe, in certain parts of Europe, and also in some parts of the world where you don't have free speech. So, again, that's just a terrible statement. We lose hope as we continue to be victimized, she said, citing stats on the relatively high rate of suicide among LGBT youth, the cruelty, the hate, and the words manifest shame. Whatever the reasons, as the existing hate crime stats are inconclusive, some experts and commentators have argued that America is actually in the midst of a hate crime hysteria. Then others have to draw attention to a countervailing trend of hate crime hoaxes. Colette editor Andy Ngo earlier this month tweeted out a long list of examples, and political scientist Wilfred Riley has compiled an even longer list of 409 cases. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Which he examines in a forthcoming book. That it would be interesting to read. Reason Magazine's Camille Foster made the case on CNN February 17th. There is far less racism in America today than there has ever been. There is far less homophobia. That's something I would agree with. There is a great deal of ambiguity of what makes something a hate crime. He also said there are subjective determination there. Yeah, again, I agree. Writing Krillette last week, sociologists Bradley Campbell and Jason Manning argued that the hate crimes thrive in a culture of victimhood because the false claims confirm moral status of those who make them and are more likely to be believed than in cultures of honor and or dignity. Drawing on their 2018 book on the subject, they said that such a culture is spreading from American campuses across society. In a victimhood culture, even hate crime hoaxes are exposed. They are excused as an attempt to raise awareness of a real problem or as the understandable reaction of someone suffering from so much unrecognized oppression, the researcher said. Page in her essay stopped short of blaming Trump for American hate crimes, but only barely saying hatred toward otherwise people is institutionalized here and across the globe and reinforced by political rhetoric. Yeah, even though Trump wants to decriminalize being gay across the world, he's such a hateful person. He's such a bigot. I would say it's a fairly balanced article. I'm gonna link it as always in the description if you want to read it for yourself. The Ellen Page, instead of actually admitting she was wrong, and perhaps be more balanced, ethical, but she just doubles down and ignores the issues people have with her stupid statements, to be frank. And when people like this double down and can't admit they're wrong, I mean, these people constantly um, berate people and lecture people for to be better and to actually do what they think is tolerant and accepting. But when they're wrong, they just double down. Isn't that interesting? That's Hollywood for you. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye.